What's going on YouTube? It's your boy RonnyPugs back again with another Avengers project related video for you guys. And with just about 10 days away from the full E3 reveal of Marvel's Avengers from Square Enix, I wanted to make a video on the top 5 villains I'd like to see before E3 in case we get any word on which villains will appear in game, which is exactly what we will be doing today. Now, the basics of this video consist of the 5 villains I'd like to see featured in the Avengers project in no order, and just 5 villains I'd like to see in general, with no limit to the exact extent of which villains could be featured in the game. So in this list you will see villains that could potentially hold their own game as a main villain, but for the list it's just simply 5 villains I'd like to see in game. And before we begin, this video was suggested by my good friend and longtime subscriber Meds, so thank you for the suggestion, and I have linked his Twitter down below in the description. So beginning the list, the first of 5 villains I'd like to see in the Avengers project is Bullseye. Now, he was featured in similar Marvel team-up games such as the LEGO Marvel games and the Ultimate Alliance games, so I feel like he kind of works in these type of games, and I especially think he could work as a first boss battle in the game if Square Enix decides to do something similar to Spider-Man PS4 where we fight a boss in the first level. He also works as one of the more grounded villains, especially like we've seen in the Daredevil Netflix series, and assuming Hawkeye is in this game, they do share a similar skill set, which I think would play in perfectly when going up against this character in game. The second of the 5 villains that I'd like to see in Marvel's Avengers is the main antagonist featured in my favorite MCU film, Baron Zemo. Now, once again, Zemo is one of the more grounded villains that could be featured early on in the game before we get into any major boss fights, and I also picked Zemo because we haven't seen him in many video games, with his last appearance being in LEGO Avengers, where he was featured in the Masters of Evil DLC, which leads me into the next reason why I'd like to see Zemo in game, because it could potentially set up the Masters of Evil, which could be a storyline used for the game's potential DLC, sequel, or even the game itself. Up next, we have a villain who was recently featured in Spider-Man PS4 who's mentioned that he has gone toe-to-toe with the Avengers, Taskmaster. To me, this just makes too much sense to not include him in the game. This is a Marvel villain who replicates the powers of those he's fighting, and if by some chance the Avengers project exists within Insomniac's universe, then including Spider-Man PS4's Taskmaster in-game would be a perfect move. Because we do know after the last Taskmaster fight in Spider-Man PS4, he disappears, which leaves room for him to appear in the Spider-Man PS4 sequel, or even the Avengers project. But even if Spider-Man PS4 and the Avengers project are not in the same universe, I'd still like to see Taskmaster appear in game. Moving on, the remaining 2 characters in this list are those who could potentially hold their own game, but like I said, this list consists of 5 characters that I'd like to see in game, with the first of the 2 remaining being iconic Marvel villain Dr. Doom. Although Dr. Doom has been in a plethora of video games, the last console game he was featured in was the first LEGO Marvel game, so it's almost like we're overdue for a proper Dr. Doom to appear in a video game, and although we're unsure if any Fantastic Four characters will appear in game, Dr. Doom is one of those villains that works for the entire Marvel universe. But I do think it would be kind of weird to include the Fantastic Four's most iconic villain and not include the first family themselves, but hopefully the Avengers aren't the only superhero team featured in the Avengers project. Finally, the 5th villain I'd like to see in Marvel's Avengers is without a doubt the most popular Marvel villain currently, Thanos. Now, I'd love to see Thanos appear as the final boss of this game, but I do have worry that he won't make an appearance, considering Ultimate Alliance 3 is based around the entire Black Order story, so it would be kind of odd to include Thanos in the Avengers project when probably a year or 2 prior to the game's release, we would have had a similar Marvel team-up game revolving around Thanos as the main villain. And with Thanos, I feel like you have to make him the main villain considering he's been portrayed as such a complex character lately, so although I am worried we won't see an appearance from Thanos in this game, I'd still love to see what Square Enix could bring to the character. So there you have it, my top 5 villain choices for the Avengers project. We're getting really close to the E3 reveal, with the official countdown being added to the Avengers project website. Let me know what you guys thought of my list, as well as share your top 5 villains you'd like to see in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow my social medias, and I will see you guys again in my next video.